lovely sewing people. In today's video I'm going to be revealing the inside of my garment. So I've got a few dresses and a jacket and a blouse, because we all see the outside and we talk about how we've made them, but I wanted to reveal some of the choices I make for finishing the inside of my garments, whether they're lined or have facings, what seam finishes I prefer to go for, that type of thing. So I've had a few people say they'd be interested in knowing more, so I'm going to reveal a bit more. So stick around and I shall see you in a moment. Welcome back. If you're new to my channel, Bobo Bun Sew Vintage Life, then I'm Lisa. I'm a vintage inspired seamstress, absolutely passionate about all things sewing, borderline obsessed. I do think about it and do it a hell of a lot. And I also teach dressmaking to share my passion and my knowledge and skills that I've learned over a very long lifetime of sewing. So I love to share why I love sewing and my top tips and just the whole passion that is sewing and creativity with you here on my channel. So thank you for joining me. And today's video, it's about the inside of the makes, about the choices we make on how we'll finish them. Now, I love the insides to be as beautiful as the outside. It's about investing time in something. I like to really appreciate my makes, not to do quick throwaway makes, you know. I suppose I could go to, you know, get ready to wear cheap fashion if I wanted to just have stuff that's just for the now, for the moment, the quick fix. It's about really enjoying the creation of the garment and then knowing I'm going to love it and it's going to last. Some of my makes won't be as beautifully finished inside, but there'll be a reason for that, so I will tell you that in a bit. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 dresses to show you, a blouse and a jacket. So when I'm starting a project, the pattern instructions might actually tell you to sew a seam in a particular way. It won't tell you about lining the bodice, it'll have facings. Well, I ignore all of that. You know, all things are constructed in the same way, you know, in terms of a basic model, and then, you know, whether it's got, you know, different details like, you know, a frill that goes across here or whatever, you know, there'll be certain elements that are different, but in the main garment construction is the same all the way through. So I make the choices on the finish I want. Now, majority of dresses will tell you to add facings, but I really don't like facings at all. They do my head in. I do not like that bit at the front that flips up, you know, even though I've understitched to keep it securely down, you've still got this bit that's flipping about. And you can't stitch it down unless you want visible stitches, so it absolutely does my head in. So I always prefer to line my bodices, and they look just lovely, and having a contrast lining inside is just like a little pop of joy. I've got one dress which I haven't got to show you here, but it's made out of the most amazing 1960s cottons with huge big white daisies. It's absolutely gorgeous, like a wiggle dress, and then I put a really jewel purple lining inside. So now to go back one, when I say the word lining, I don't mean those scratchy ones. When I go into my local fabric store, they've got all the linings underneath, and honestly, I just feel I'm getting saliva in my mouth. You know, you start getting that gag reflex, just even the thought of touching them or hearing them, they're like, ugh, static and horrible. So no, I totally avoid proper linings. I line all my dresses in a cotton lawn or cotton poplin, depending on the weight I want, something that'll be soft and nice next to my skin. And then when I'm doing my coats, you know, I'll get like a sateen, or I'll get you know, a rayon, something that's got a bit of slip to it, but again, you've got a lovely print on it and it just feels nicer. I equate those linings with the things of fingernails going down a blackboard. That's, you know, people hitting forks on their teeth when they're eating, and you know, cutlery scraping on the plate when you're eating. They're all the things that aren't so nice. So yeah, horrible linings in that category for me. So it's choosing that how you finish it, but it's also choosing the type of seam finishes you want. Now, if you're lining something, then all the I mean, especially if I'm just doing a top lining, all those seams will be covered because, you know, they'll be enclosed within the lining. I very rarely line a skirt. I have got a couple of dresses where I've got the skirts lined, but it's whether you then overlock the skirt seams or whether you do a French seam. And when it's a coat that isn't lined, I prefer a Hong Kong seam, so I will show you those. But French seams are my absolute go-to. I absolutely love French seams. So if I'm using a viscose crepe, a rayon, anything that's a bit more floaty, finer fabric, then I will use a French seam. They're stronger because you're sewing that seam twice, so it's more reinforced on that lighter fabric for the wear, and they just look absolutely beautiful. So I just love that finish, and obviously you can only do that on certain seams, so you can't do it, you know, around the sleeve. But if you've got my brain's gone for the name, oh for goodness sake, you know, the sleeve that goes like this. For some reason my brain is not behaving to give me the word. You can do French seams on there, as I have on this blouse here. Someone in the comments probably say it's that type of sleeve, but yeah, it's just my fuddled brain. So you can't do it on a normal set-in sleeve, but you can do it on all the side seams. You know, I can't do it on the waist seam, but all the other side seams you can, so it works really, really well. Now, as I said, I prefer a lined bodice because I don't like the flippy up facing, and I love it to be beautiful from the inside, just as much as I love wearing matching underwear. A lesson taught to my mum. My mum taught me when I was very young that if you feel lovely from down below, and then you will feel lovely all the way out, and it does work. You know, it always makes me feel very nice. No, you know, only select people are going to see my underwear. Well, a select person, because I don't really show my underwear to lots of people, but one person will be allowed to see my underwear, and sometimes my daughters do, even though they don't want to. So, but I know it's there and it makes me feel lovely. Pretty much the same with the insides of my dresses, which I'm going to reveal with you now. So I'm just trying to think which one I'll start with. I think I might show you the blouse first, then we'll move on to the dresses, because this blouse here in this beautiful fabric from Hey Sew Sister, and the pattern is the Richmond blouse from Till the Sun Goes Down, Andre of Till the Sun Goes Down, which has Now and Then patterns, of which the Richmond blouse is one. She kindly gifted this to me when we ran our Christmas challenge, Mary Ellen and I. Absolutely love this blouse. I made it a few times now. It's got a gorgeous shawl collar to it, but this has facings. Now I can deal with that on a blouse or a jacket. I mean, on a coat you'll normally have a lining attached to that, but this is at the back. It's not flipping around by my neck, so the facings are in here. So I've just overlocked them, but I could have turned them under. That was a choice. Or sometimes you can put bias binding on, you know, but I like the overlocker for speed at times. Sometimes I just want to finish them, and they do look beautiful all overlocked. So that's what I've done there, and the inside is all French seamed. So that's that blouse. Now with this blouse, I've used the interfacing. I like woven interfacing, you know, cotton on one side and the glue on the other. Overlocked all the edges of that just to secure it on better, and that's all around there. Then I've got the lovely French seams, which the French call British seams or English seams. So, and then on the bottom I've got a very narrow turned hem, and on that collar the understitching just to hold it in place. Recent dress I made, just take it off its hanger, is this red one. So I've got the cherry print on the inside of that. So that's got a back zip, and it's just the bodice that's lined on that one. Absolutely love this. I haven't worn this yet. I'm thinking I might be wearing this for a May wedding we're going to. So absolutely love it. So that's that dress. Oh, lovely cherries, pink cherries, and I've hand sewn that lining in against the zip. Got the understitching there on the neck, and then it's all turned in and hand sewn in around the waist, going to the overlocked seams. You see, I had to piece in another piece of material there to make enough for the lining. Doesn't matter if you patchwork it a bit together. If you go down to the underside, see those side seams, they're just all open. Now the next dress I'm going to show you is actually wet. I've just got this out of the washing and then I realised I wanted to show it to you, so it's still, well, it's damp rather than wet, so I must hang it up to dry. Now this was the vintage tea dress, or it was 1940s tea dress, I can't remember the name, from Sew Over at London. And I constructed it, I mean I did a lot of changes to the pattern, but I constructed it along the proper 40s lines of flat top stitching the central bodice, you know, midriff section, and I put in a snap closure because I wanted this all made as a proper 40s dress, because the fabric is an original 40s cotton lawn. It's absolutely delightful, which I bought from one of my favourite vintage fairs, Little Vintage Lover, which there's one in May, but it was from their Creme de la Creme fair, which is in Hayden in August. And we've not had any for a few years, and they're back this August, so I'm super excited, as I know a lot of vintage lovers are, to be going to that. Now, I found this there a few years ago, and because it's 40s cotton lawn, it's very soft, and I didn't want it to wear and weather, and if it did rip on the outside then it would be stabilised. You know, I could mend the outside but it'd be stabilised. So I absolutely fully lined this one including the sleeves. The sleeves are a polka dot, and I've got white lining, and as I say, the snap closure, and I lined the skirt as well, so I'll show you that in more detail. The only problem with fully lining this, you'd think being a cotton lawn it wouldn't be too hot, but I remember wearing this to, it was another vintage fabric sale at an old railway near us, and it was in September, and you know those Indian summers we get that can be really warm. Well, I was boiling in this dress. Had a lovely day, but God, I felt like I was wearing a blanket. So it's a springtime dress, but I have to be aware I'm going to be rather warm in it. That's got to go. I'm wondering where to put this because it's got to go on the line. For the tea lawn dress, I've totally lined it. So I've got, I didn't have enough white for the sleeves, so I've got pink on the sleeves, and I hand sewed those at the arm side. Everything's sewn together all really neatly. Absolutely love that detail on the sleeves. You can see it both sides nice and crisp. And then I've got the snap closure, which is such a dainty detail. Absolutely love that, but it's a faff sewing all those snaps on. Right, my next dress I want to show you is a 1930s dress. It's from a pattern from Mrs. Depew, which I brought online. She has the most amazing fabric patterns. You know, I'll just put in what era I want and what garment, you know, whether it's a blouse, trousers, dress, whatever. So I just put in 30s dresses and found this one, and it was exactly what I wanted, because I was working on this fabric for Fabric Godmother for an ambassador post, and it really reminded me, because it's alpine fabric, it reminded me of all those fabulous 1930s outdoor skiers. That's what, I mean, I know it's got sort of modern people with their dogs in it, but just the alpine is what it made me think of. And it's a beautiful, beautiful fabric. I believe that's another, this might be viscose crepe. I can't remember what this one was now, but it's absolutely delightful. I know a few people went and bought it. So I used all the proper finishes on this. It's got French seams. For this one I've turned down the back facing, and it's got a side closure. There's so much hand sewing in this one, and made a belt to go with that. So that's another one I absolutely love. Oh, this dress, there's a lot of hand sewing. There's French seams again, which I love, as I keep saying. And then the facing, I've turned that under, as a lot of the vintage patterns ask you to do. So that's sewn down. So you see all that facing all the way around. And then the necktie channel, which is sewn down. And then the cuffs, which turned over, and they're all hand sewn down into the really big gathered cuff. And again, I put some bias binding on for the snap closure. I'm a sucker for sewing on poppers. Now I'm going to show you one that isn't finished as well inside, and there's some good reasons for that. It's this one, it's all sticking on things. It's this dress. It's a wiggle dress, so I made the Stanwick pencil skirt. It's a stretch cotton. It's not a sateen, it's stretch cotton. It's absolutely gorgeous. I love this dress. And then it was I think it's the surplus bodice from Gertie. I don't know, that might be her ultimate dress book. I'll have to check that. I did so many fitting tweaks to get this bodice right with my bust and position and everything. And then I drafted cap sleeves. I wanted ones that were quite raised up, but you know, really short cap sleeves. And I felt fabulous in this. And it's got a lapped zip at the back. Now I prefer a side zip, but of course it's a tight dress. You need a back zip. So that's got this back zip. And lapped are just beautiful because you don't see the zip in there. And lap zips are the proper vintage techniques, how all the dresses would be finished. Now when you see this dress, you can see all the seams, and if you go to the side here, you can see the seams here. So whilst I've lined it, I've made the seams visible. Now the reason for that was, I was originally, for this was for a family wedding last year, and I was making the Liz dress bodice, you know, which went really well, and it really shows the difference between being able to sew and being able to fit, because I had real problems with the fitting because I've got such narrow shoulders. So I made it all superbly, if I do say so myself. I was very, very pleased with the bodice part. It just wasn't quite right in the fit, and that was going to be attached to the wiggle dress. I was absolutely gutted. And I only had minutes to spare and just luckily enough fabric to make another bodice. So one, this bodice was very hastily constructed, so I didn't have time to properly line it, but it was also because I was such up against it with time that I thought I might have to keep changing the fit on it. So I used a trick that a friend of mine who's a costumier told me, that in the theatre they don't enclose the seams within the lining. All the seams are exposed, so you can quickly access them to let them out or take them in. So that's the reason this dress is finished as it is, but it's a beautiful dress. It's just not as tidy on the inside as I'd like it to be, but that's just me. And with this dress we haven't got such a beautiful inside. It's lined in green, but I've got overlocked seams, and those seams brought together so I could alter it if I needed to at the last moment. But I have hand sewn the midriff lining down to the waist, so it's all covered there, and then you've got overlock seams going on down into the skirt, so, and the sleeves are lined too. Now the final dress I want to show you is this one, which features in my little intro video on Instagram when I do Bobo and the Bog Chats on a Tuesday. It's absolutely gorgeous. Again, this is an original vintage that I bought from Donna Flower Vintage Fabrics. Just what's not to love about bright red roses and the deepest of blues. It's just glorious. So it's got this scoop back. So I've lined the bodice in a white cotton, and the sleeves also, and I chose to break up the midriff section with some red piping. So again, that's another choice. I've got a side zip in this one, so when you're using piping with a zip, you need to remove that seam allowance bit of the cord, so you've just got flat fabric. Otherwise there's no way you're going to get this zip done up or undone. It's just going to be too bulky. So that's what I've done there. So I've got a side zip. Now, I always prefer side zips because they're so much easier when you're fitting bodices yourself. If you've got a back zip, you know, trying to reach around on your own, and I'm doing all the fitting on my own, where if I've got a side zip, I've already sewn that part, and then I can just pin that round. I can check if the back needs darts being removed. The back darts are just optional. They're not there for shaping, they're just optional. So you can always let them out to get a little bit more ease in the side seams. And I just find then I can get in and out of my dresses easily, because I've got a lot of dresses I don't wear if nobody's around to do me up in them. I have turned up to sewing class and said to people, oh, I'll take my cardigan off. Can you quickly zip me up? But in the main, the side zip works best for me. So with this one, I have fully, or not fully, I've half lined the skirt to give it a sort of false petticoat. I was going to add tulle to the bottom, but the sewing with the tulle was doing my head in, so I didn't. But that's that dress there, which I'll show you the inside of in detail. Starting from the outside, undo the zip so you can get the whole reveal of the white into the blue skirt lining. So I've lined the top of the dress in white, and then there's a blue sort of petticoat attached to the waist. But I overlocked all around the arm side rather than joining and hand sewing that in. I'm a bit lazy sometimes. And when you turn it inside out, it's like a whole other dress the other way around, with a sort of frill just to give a bit more fullness to that skirt. And then hand sewed that side zip lining in and leaving a little bit of a gap, if you can see there, just so there's movement at the top and the bottom with the zip. So the final garment I'm going to show you the inside of is a raincoat I made. It's not my normal kind of wear, but it rains a lot in this country. Go on walks and things, so I wanted something cosy and waterproof because yeah, an umbrella isn't the best of ideas when you're having to stomp by the sea and it's raining or something. So I made this coat, and it is a gorgeous coat. It's absolutely beautiful. I think this was from In the Folds. It's the Hove jacket, and it was a delight to make. I loved the construction process of it, and it's a waterproof, sort of fleece back waterproof from Fabric Godmother. I mean, it was a bit of a devil to sew with because it became very thick when you're trying to sew through all of these back pleats and whatnot. But it's not lined because it's fleece. I didn't need to line it. So all the seams are finished. I made my own bias binding from a floral vintage fabric I'd got. So I've gone all round the arm side as well, and then all the seams are done. Let's try and get one out flat to show you, with a Hong Kong bound seam finish, which I absolutely love. And I haven't that neatly stitched in the ditch in those. Sometimes I manage it, but I absolutely love Hong Kong seams, so that's just such a delight to see on the inside of a garment. So you've got as much fun on the inside as the outside. So I hope you've enjoyed that look at the inside of my garments. You might have some other things that you like to do, so please pop them in the comments. I'd be fascinated to hear, and might be something that I can then do too. I hope you found that useful. If you enjoy my videos, please subscribe. There's the bell thing that you can hit, and then it will say when I've posted another video. Then you can join me again, which would be lovely. And don't forget, I'm also on Instagram, Bobo Bun, so it's Bobo _bun, where I share a lot of my sewing adventures and tips and whatnot, and just general life as well. So please like and comment and join me again, because it's lovely having you here. So until next time, I shall say ta-ta, bye-bye.